Okay, well, this has been an interesting little bit of time because fiddling around with the GUI, the way it's drawn, just the tiny little details. I've now imported another font and played around a bit with the way, with some of the fonts I could use. I'm not totally happy with this one, but it's not bad. And also played with the way the fonts are drawn similarly to the gadgets. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised by this, but when I'm trying to draw to a specific pixel and not in some highly transformed way like all this stuff, to take the integer. And the text draws so much more nicely now. It is still bitmap fonts, for reasons of my own. I sense they're fast, this is drawn from the same texture as the rest of the GUI quite deliberately. Which does bring me on to what I kind of want to think about just now. I've got seriously sidetracked from just hiding these gadgets, these controls. But I do want to think about this for a little bit. 1 second. Any minute now I'm going to sneeze. Anyhow, I do want to think about this for a little bit because actually the GUI's looking kind of alright now. In a way, before it was adequate. Now I feel a little bit better than adequate. It doesn't look too bad. I can't escape the slight softness of the bitmap fonts. I don't think. I mean, maybe I can increase the resolution. Maybe I should try doing that just now. But it does bring me on to another thing, which is that I want to keep drawing the fonts this way. I want to draw them all from a single. The fonts, as many aspects of the GUI as possible drawn from a single texture. At the moment, I think the whole system will only be changing texture twice. Once to change to drawing the dashed line, and then once to change back to drawing general GUI pieces. That seems bearable to me. They're all drawn in alpha blending. I make use of the alpha channel. They're all all alpha blended and drawn from the same texture. So I'd also drawn from a single continuous list of triangles. So I don't know, but I'm fairly confident. I think that is the reason that, in spite of the fact that, owing to my own, lassitude, it's just drawing everything every frame. I have a plan in mind to stop it doing that. I don't mind it doing it. I've been delighted with how fast it's all seemed. It's never really seemed to have a problem. It's doing 60. It's displaying a lot of letters. It can display more. It does take a long time for my file explorer to open certain folders. But to be fair, it takes the Windows File Explorer quite a long time to open certain folders. Takes it a long time to open them, draws them fine. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked talking and thinking about that. The point of all that is, I am happy with the speed of it, but I'd still like to make it faster. The big changes I'd like to make to it, though, I think I'm just going to leave, because I do have a feeling I'm going to be moving to C++. That doesn't mean there aren't a couple of small changes that I would make to it, because the code that I'd build to make these changes would be immediately really useful and would also just translate. Making a GUI in C++ seems like a fun thing to me to do. I enjoy user interface, color and movement. It's just, I like seeing things be responsive and serve their sort of simple little purpose. It's fun. Anyway. So I'm not going to embark on a huge GUI update, but there are some changes. Like, these fonts are looking a lot better, but when I print text, I use a slightly different method, and I want to change that. I want to import the printing of text into the gtext class. just to make it more consistent when I print something, but printing is still slower than instantiating than drawing an instance of the gtext class. Anyway. Also, it's a very tedious thing to have to write, but I would really like to be able to draw text vertically, both leading up the way and down the way. That's not such a high priority as the other thing I'd like to do though, which is make using different types of font in the GUI much quicker and easier and more automated. It's not bad at the moment that I take this and run the output through my little program, my little BMF to data program, and pop that data into my code. That is fine, but going through the rigmarole is, it's a little bit time consuming. This is the basic texture I want. What I kind of have in my mind is that actually if I could save this texture but also have this texture, I could get my GUI code to combine it. I mean, the GUI knows it wants... I need to get rid of a lot of this stuff. The GUI knows that it wants this for its icons, and it knows that it wants a font, and it knows it wants to draw from a single texture as often as possible. So I think an automated system that receives two textures, this one and a font, and sticks them together. There's something wasteful about this, which is for just sheer easiness, I'd quite like to use two 1024 by 1024 textures, which is just silly of me, but on the other hand, they're pungs. They're probably going to crush down to be like this whole section of texture I think becomes nothing or very little. So I think I might just go for that and say, yeah, to use a font to use a bitmap font, say, in my GUI, you plop the bitmap font into the top half of a 1024 by 1024 texture, and now is the bit where I think, what actually do you do next? And I've already got the code to take the relevant stuff from a bmp.funt file. So really, I should skip the bit where I make my own file with my beloved little BMF to data, and I just take the code that's in BMF to data and I get it into GUI, so that what you can expect is in the GUI code folder, as long as you've got, say, liberation.funt and liberation.pung, then inside the GUI code, actually what I would do, I would make it inside gadget init, that you specify the name of the font, and it looks inside its own folder, it finds the font, and it loads it. And I could put in something as a default font, and that would be it. And honestly, at the moment, that would be such a nice improvement. And even if I am planning to make a move to C++ for other projects, this is actually would become a fairly usable GUI, something I wouldn't be too embarrassed to use in small projects for performing really simple tasks. And that is what Monkey is perfect for. Like if I don't need to get into writing massive projects. Anyway, so. And also I will feel like it'll finally make this, look at that. That's a slight irritation. I'm integering the letter values. I wonder if I could do a better job of integering it. And it does improve the look of them. The individual letters look better, I think, when they have been integered. I could show examples, but I'm not going to at this moment. But they wobble now. But I don't know, I might just have to live with that. I wonder what I can do, if anything. Let me have a very quick little look, because it's in GUI classes. And this is the bit, yeah, where I draw and I take integer. I wonder. Because I am doing something slightly, you know, sort of, I don't know, subtle's the word, but there are subtleties to what will happen. It's like, it's not subtle the way I've thought about it, but there are, you know, differences to what I can expect. If I take, what if I took, like, the integer of left plus letter width plus counter instead, so that I'm not taking the integer of these two floats, but I'm taking the integer of the integer I got. And again, this is a situation where, as always, when I sit down and draw things out and do the sums, it becomes clear. But that's worse, isn't it? They jiggle around more. Wow, that's funny looking. But now they kind of keep an even size, they keep an even width, but their position pops back and forth, and I don't think I can get, like, that was better. What if I take plus the integer of letter width counter? Or maybe the integer of these two things? Maybe that makes more sense. Or I've already got the integer of x. What if I take the left plus the integer of the letter counter? Letter width of counter. Counter is the current letter. These little things, I have a feeling that's going to really spoil the spacing of all the text. Yeah, look at it all gone wonky. Yeah, it does take care, and all of it looks kind of worse. So I'm going to have to think harder about that. Did this is, I think, different again. Oh yeah, I can't, oh me, oh my, this is going to be strange. And I can't quite remember how it was when I started either. Like, nah, this all looks wonky again to me. I think the letters have to be indistinct widths. Like, they have to be a float width. What happens if I just say, yeah, left is int for sure, but the right, whatever you like. And also, I don't have to do this, I just have to say equals right. Maybe that actually is part of my... Right, I feel like that sorted the spacing again and buggered the... But I think like I say, I think I basically get one or the other. Now these letters look nice and evenly spaced to me, or as much as they can do with my, you know, with my fairly simplistic, it's just counting across the letter width. Okay, well, one last thing. Me. Now that is actually just saying the same thing. And then if I, no, it would just be doing the same again. Left is the integer of x. Let me just take that away again and remind myself. Because what then happens is individual letters start to look really quite wonky. Am I imagining it? There's still some wobble going on, but I just don't think that. Okay, this is starting to kind of get on my nerves because I think I am imagining it. There's space in this font. Like, that is, there's something wrong there, isn't there? It's, the space is like non-existent. It's just too tiny. And also, I don't know why this is appearing so far out. In fact, look at that, just totally wrong. Okay, well, what this means is that the string gadget has a problem with it. Yeah, okay. The string gadget's not prepared for strange lengths. Or there's some... In fact, I know what it is. I've introduced an error. And I actually now am confused. It's because of this. I may use the int afterwards, but I have to... okay. Going round and round in circles here. So that's why it kind of looked okay-ish anyway in some circumstances, because of this, those things being integers. Now they'll look goofy again. Like, I need to build in this thing about getting the width. The way I get the width of a string needs to be the same as the way I get... Yeah, okay, this has made these look goofy again. I can see the side of the O gets shaved off in certain circumstances. I wonder if it has made this work again. It has, so it's because those two things are equivalent. So now I've got my choices. Do I live with the fact that it appears slightly strange, that some letters appear slightly strange, but that it is being drawn to the accurate position? I'm still taking the integer of y, which helps me out in some ways. It makes the letters appear at the correct y position by taking the integer of it. And I mean, I can take the integer of x maybe at the start. So x equals int x. But I feel like after that I have to stick with I feel like I have to... Oh my, okay. Right, that's made this okay. It's made that look okay. Has it spoiled this? Apparently not. That looks dodgy still. It's not just no zero. Okay, right, this is as good as I've got so far. Man, the subtleties of these things, just... I never learn to expect them. But the things are working. They look even enough inside their gadgets without me adjusting the output of the file. Occasional little shaves off of a zero. That's annoying, but I don't know. I think it's like solved this problem of the jittery... all of the letters stay the same width. Yeah, okay. Me oh my, I've now spent nearly 20 minutes just faffing. But, for what it's worth, this looks about as good as I think I'm going to get it right now. The space is still far too small. Like, never mind. Okay. So, the things I want to do for sure are I want to get my gprint inside my gtext class, and that'll mean fixing some bits of my code, but the upshot will be that the things I just quickly call print on will look consistent with this text, which looks good enough. I don't like some certain tiny bits of... Look at those spaces, that's ridiculous. Who ever heard of a space being so narrow? Okay. And I want to do the thing about combining two pix maps into an individual texture and just loading an FNT, the output from this. One moment. Okay, was interrupted there. Should only really go on for another 10 or 20 minutes here. But thinking about it again, the main reason I'm concerned about gprint is because I want it to be consistent with this, but actually moving it inside is not the most important thing for making it consistent. It's just making sure that I basically do the same thing. I'll make that a float for what it's worth. Anyway, yeah, making sure I basically do the same thing, but maybe I will. Where is gprint? Gprint is just this. And I think I will. I'll take it out of there, and I will go to gtext, and right after draw, I'll have gprint. And this can come out. This can go in, and it will just be renamed print, I think. No, it can't be. What can I... Man, am I going to have to call it gprint still? I guess I am. I could always use an alias. There must be a better way. Nah, forget it. That'll do. The main thing I want to do here is make sure that I kind of use the same method here, even though things are a little bit different. I still end up with x, y, the image things. Those things are fine. I just need to be sure that I integer x and I integer y at the start. In fact, that is pretty much all I do, don't I? And say bottom is the integer of... I suppose I could make use of my... I don't need to have left anymore, and I won't assign it. I won't x, x, x. I hope, yeah, because it's just being equal to x now. This is the bit that really kind of fixes it. So I use x, y, bottom, and right. Take the integer of x, y, and make the bottom integer. Okay. So in here I've decided that there is letters, so I want y equals the integer of y, any y, integer of y, x equals the integer of x, bottom equals the integer of y plus height. is it exactly? SF. SF. Yeah, size factor. SI. Where do I decide SI? Just size. What do I use SF for? Right, okay, the width. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, SI. Got ya. Phew. In here, I can say right equals x plus CW, and here I can say x equals right, and that is the same balance of the things. Right, 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 and here it's bottom, bottom, bottom. I'm pretty sure that's it. I'm just going to run it again, and this time I'm going to, I think, perform. Okay, right, so now this is G text, G print. How many more of those am I going to come across? Okay, yeah, alright, I get you, I get you. I'm going to come across a few more of those for sure. Yep, like here. G text, G print, and G text, G print. What next? Oh, was I clever enough to call it G text? No, I wasn't. What on earth? Oh, okay, right. I see. Yes. I'm not doing very good naming conventions there, I'm realizing. But anyway. Some things I use gprint for are the frames per second and the message, the blue bar message that I sometimes get. So I want to test that message. Oh, come on. This has not been a super productive time. I've mainly just chatted about what I want to do. But that is kind of, well, I suppose I've moved this in, assuming it works. Okay, well, there's the frames per second, and I think indeed it is looking a little bit better spaced. And I will bump the recursions up to 11, and I'll say, yeah, baby, draw that for me, recursor image.pung. And there's that. Looks pretty much the same, really. It's a very small, it's really pushing how small the font can be drawn, that one. But never mind. Looks fine. It worked, that's the main thing. You can see how rubbishly small the spaces are in this font. And they just need to be made bigger, they absolutely do. Don't much like the spacing of those square brackets either. Anyway. So, recursions. This was probably a big mistake. The gradient, it's pretty gross. With so many lines, who knows how long that'll take. But I'll leave it going. And I will say, I will call that done. And I'll think about the next thing, which is that, yeah, I'm going to make it easy to... What on earth was I doing down there? I'm going to make it easy to bring in a new texture. I'm going to get rid of this asset thing. I'm going to change where GUI sits in the directory tree. I'm going to make it, if you want GUI in your code, you stick the GUI directory in your app directory. And I'm going to look straight in GUI for these pungs instead of doing this asset thing. And I'm going to load up the two pix maps, then I'm going to copy the top half of one pix map and the bottom half the other. And the thing that I need to do is I need to pass a font. So you know not only the canvas to draw to, the window that it belongs in, but the font you want to load. And inside the GUI folder there has to be the font.fnt file from BMP to font, and there has to be the image of the font, which is really plopped in the top half of a 1024 by 1024 texture. This has been a serious problem for it, obviously, and I wonder how FFmpeg's doing. Nothing too terrible. I think I've really helped it by going to a lower resolution. I wouldn't usually work in a resolution this low, but it helps FFmpeg, and honestly it's quite cozy. I would play more with some of these details if I could get away with stopping this render, but I kind of want to see it now. It's probably a massive mistake. High of 500 with 11 recursions. It's going to be completely saturated. But also, that does make me think, you know, there are things I have to move on to do with the actual renderer, and not to do with me just taking delight in fussing with gadgets and fonts and things, which is a thing I do take too much kind of delight in. And now my dog is barking. That's been another 10 minutes, so this is... I had a little interruption, but that'll be half an hour. I wonder if there's some better, you know. In fact, I dare say there is some piece of information I could get out of the renderer that could tell me how far through an individual frame it was. But I'm going to stop for now.